Hope everyone's having a great week so far. I'm Cameron Meredith with ADU West Coast right here out of Seal Beach, California. Today, we're going to talk about SB 10. A few weeks back, I went over SB 9, which was a pair of bills that were signed by Gavin Newsom about a month ago. So these are very important housing bills that, like I said, were just recently passed. So I'll go through SB 10 today and some of the specifics of why it's important and why people in real estate or development should be paying attention to what's going on. Because there's some very specific things within these bills which you should look for, which we're going to go over today. All right. So first page, let me get this going on here. What is SB 10? So let me move this out of the way. California Senate Bill 10, recently signed into law by Governor Newsom, provides the local agencies may adopt an ordinance to allow up to 10 dwelling units on any parcel at any specific, at a height specified in the ordinance if the parcel is within a transit-rich or urban infill site, So there are rules to this. It's not just like you can build it anywhere, but this does apply to R1 lots, which we're going to go over, which is huge. So places like LA, Long Beach, very urban infill spots, this is going to be very prevalent. Okay. The new law provides increased ability for pro-housing cities to approve potentially substantial upzonings without being held up by California Environmental Quality Act, processing and litigation, which again is time. It's red tape that you got to go through. However, since SB 10 exempts only rezoning without providing any CEQA exemption or approval process for the actual housing, the law will have a limited effect in significantly advancing housing approvals for projects with discretionary approvals. So basically what this means for all that legal jargon is we're cutting the time down. You don't have to go through all these processes and hearings in order to go through what would take, years, sometimes 2-3 years to go through and just get your approval. So they're making it a lot easier, cutting that red tape. One big question that I had when kind of go over it on Facebook and whatnot was, what is a transit-rich area or urban infill site? So we'll go over both and what constitutes that. Pretty much a lot of Orange County, LA is going to be a transit-rich area. It's one big metropolis, right? So transit-rich area, the majority of land is within 1/2 mile of an existing or planned rail station, ferry terminal, or intersection of 2 or more bus routes with the peak headways of 15 minutes or less. Okay, so again, we live in one of the biggest metropolises in the world. That applies to a lot of places down here in Southern California where we're at, all right? What is an urban infill site? Urban infill is defined as a new development that is sited on a vacant or undeveloped land with an existing community, and that is enclosed by other types of development. The term urban infill itself implies that existing land is mostly built out and what is being built in effect filling in the gap. So we kind of have a little picture here. It doesn't really show it too well, but imagine if you had, to put it, I guess just very basic. Imagine if you had, you see this a lot of time in Los Angeles, fourplexes, new condos, new apartments, and then you have one single family house that's, beach bungalow or something that's just sitting there. So that would be considered an infill site, okay? Overviews and limitations of the new law. So again, it's not like every single property is going to be applicable to this. So there are some things that we got to go over. The law provides some increased ability for pro-housing cities to move forward potentially substantial upzonings without being held up by the CEQA, processing delays and litigation. We went over that. However, since SB 10 exempts only the rezoning process without providing any CEQA exemption, ministerial approval, or by a right approval process for the actual housing itself, the law will have a limited effect in significantly advancing housing approvals. Approval of actual housing development would remain subject to the CEQA and the many jurisdictions that require discretionary permits for new housing. And so SB 10's process is likely to have its greatest effect in localities that choose through their own codes to adopt the right or ministerial permitting of code compliant housing development. So pretty much what this says is cities have to basically go through and approve or basically say that they're going to allow this within their city. So that's a big thing. Some cities might not allow this to go on, but again, certain cities that need more housing, that need more inventory, you'll see this happen. Again, we haven't seen, this doesn't take effect until 2022. So we'll see it in January of next year and kind of see how this plays out per city. Next section is overview and limitations of the new law. So again, kind of to expand on what's going on there. Remember, a city has to adopt this in order to for it to take action. First line here, in adopting an ordinance pursuant to SB 10, a local agency must declare that the zoning ordinance is adopted pursuant to SB 10, clearly demarcate the areas that are zoned pursuant to its section, and make findings that the increased density supports the agency's duty to affirmatively bring fair housing. So again, fair housing is going to be a big deal for this as well, okay? Down below, a local agency that approves a zoning ordinance pursuant to SB 10 shall not subsequently reduce the density of any parcel subject to the ordinance. Excuse me, I'm tongue-tied today. Next one, up to 2 accessory dwelling units or junior ADUs would be permitted on each parcel, and these would not count toward the 10 unit threshold. So that's huge. We can potentially add 1 or 2 more units on these without counting towards the 10 unit threshold. So an extra 1 or 2 units, if you are building out a 10 unit, is a substantial amount of income for an investor. Below that, an ordinance enacted pursuant to this legislation may override a local initiative, restricting zoning if the ordinance is adopted by 2/3 of the legislative body approving the ordinance. So basically what this saying is they can override the local initiative zoning if it has a 2/3 legislative body approving it, okay? More limitations. It does not apply to parcels in a very high fire severity zone, nor would it apply to parcels in open space, park, or recreational lands approved by the voters, okay? That's off limits. Project may not be divided into smaller projects to avoid limitations in SB 10. You can't purposely try to, basically divide it like it says here to avoid someone from building these units. And then below, the authorization extends January 1st, 2029. So we have until then for these new laws. Again, it takes place on January 1st, 2022. That's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to keep it very broad and basic for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Here's our email and phone number. You can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Yelp and all the other sites. It's very easy. Our tag is @ADU West Coast. And just want to thank you guys for watching, and you all have a great, wonderful day. Thanks.